handing out a handout we have to give you some good information about getting you prepared for our next incentive solicitation that we're going to have. So we both work with the Air Pollution Control District. Does everyone know, have you ever heard of the Air Pollution Control District? Do you know who we are? Does everyone here know who we are? No? Yeah, you guys do. So we are a local San Diego County agency. Our mission or our goals are to reduce air pollution in the region. We're trying to meet some state and national standards for ozone and particulate matter, those types of things. So today what we're going to talk about this Clean Air for All grant program. The basic gist of what that is you have old equipment, you're thinking about purchasing newer equipment, and we're going to help you with that. We're going to provide a certain percentage of money for you to do that and hopefully do it now as opposed to waiting to do it until the end of life. How does that benefit air pollution? It's dirtier, older equipment coming out of service, and you're replacing it. Oh, you're replacing it with newer, cleaner equipment. So less air pollution as you go about doing your business. So our last incentive program actually closed in January of this year. But don't worry, we're going to open again probably sometime in the fall. We don't have an exact time frame yet, but we are a reimbursement grant program, meaning you'd purchase your new equipment first. We're going to go through the whole process, but then we provide the incentive money after. So again, we want you to get this newer equipment into service. So like with diesel engines, they have tiers. They have this cleanest tier of engine would be categorized as this tier 4 diesel engine. So we want to get that equipment into service as opposed to maybe a tractor that's 20 years old and is spewing more pollution as it's operating. And for our program, if you contract with us and go through our incentive program, you will have to turn in or trade in your old equipment to be scrapped, so it's not to be used. So again, we're taking it out of service. So some eligible types of equipment for our program, the electric ag pumps, electric UTVs, the tractors greater than 25 horsepower, and then even on-road trucks. So today we're talking about, we're kind of getting more specific about ag equipment. Our incentive programs are open to other types of equipment outside of ag. We actually have different pots or pools of money where some of it is ag specific and then the other pot is more general and broad. So you don't necessarily have to know about that part, but just kind of bring it up. So we do fund, new engines for trains and construction equipment, off-road, on-road equipment, marine vessel, repower engines. So all of this type of diesel equipment that could be older type engines, they're replacing with newer, cleaner engines. And that's kind of again, the purpose of our incentive program. So this past solicitation that we had, the two main sources or buckets of money that we had where ag equipment is eligible. One is called the Carl Moyer program. We had about $22 million. And the other one we call Farmer, funding agricultural replacement measures for emission reductions. So for that Farmer, again, that's specific to just farm equipment, $2.5 million. The larger Carl Moyer program that had that bigger bucket of money, ag equipment is eligible for that pool of money, but then you're also getting in all the other types of equipment as well. So it is kind of a bigger program where you might be competing or being ranked against other projects. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec here. So the maximum grant funding that you can get. So off-road equipment, which could be your tractor, we can actually give you up to 80% of the eligible costs of buying a new tractor. If you're going to buy an electric UTV, up to 75% of the cost. The ag pumps, up to 65%. And then if you have any on-road trucks, up to 80%. So large amounts or large percentages of the new equipment. So again, as was said with the last speaker, you do have to kind of put the money up front, buy it, but then you're going to get a large percentage back if you're going to be in contract with us. Some other eligibility requirements. So your equipment needs to operate 75% in the state of California, at least 50% within San Diego County. The second dot point there, if you enter in this program with us and you go under contract, it's going to take about a year to get through the initial process of getting the contract, buying the new equipment, scrapping your old equipment, and then getting reimbursed potentially. So I guess keep that in mind. It does take a little while to get through the process. You're going to have to show 24 months of existing equipment ownership. Could be like a bill of sale or a title. And then your diesel equipment need to be in compliance with air pollution rules and regulations. The money that we get that we're talking about here with our incentive program, we receive from the state of California Air Resources Board, and then they give it to us to give out in the local San Diego community. But as part of that process, they have certain restrictions and rules that we have to follow as far as giving the money to you. So one of their big rules is always, they don't like to pay for compliance, so to speak. Your equipment, your fleet has to already be in compliance. And again, as we kind of said before, they're kind of getting early emission reductions by you entering into this incentive program. You're buying new equipment ahead of when you would have had to. So again, you're in compliance, but it can't be out of compliance with your diesel equipment. So let's just kind of run through the general process. You're going to submit an application online. There's a little online portal. We'll show you the link for that. Then the information that was actually handed out is really good information as far as the information that you're going to need to submit for your application, kind of getting you ready. So I said, hey, we're probably going to open another solicitation for projects in the fall. If this sounds like something that might be of interest to you, start getting this information together about the equipment that you might want to trade in and then buy new. So you submit your application, and I kind of referred to or mentioned this before, where we actually rank our projects. So that 22 million or that 2.5 million, what we're trying to do with that money is get the most emission reductions as possible. So if there's two projects that cost about the same, but project A is going to remove 10x of emissions, and project B is only X of emissions. Project A removing 10 times more of the emissions than project B. Project A will get ranked above project B. So we do have this ranking list of projects that we want to fund. Again, you think about like getting the biggest bang for the buck. If we're going to spend this money, we're going to try to spend it and get the most emission reductions as possible. So we do rank the projects. After you rank the projects, so you've already submitted your application, we rank the projects, we notify you, hey, you made the rank list. So let's get under contract. So we sign a contract together that's going to have basically the whole layout of what you need to do. Our contracts for ag equipment are generally 10 years long. And then there's going to be things like there'll be reports that you submit every year throughout the life of that contract. So you're under contract with us. And as like the sheet shows, you hopefully already talked to vendors. You have, what equipment you want to buy. You put the order in after the contract with us. So remember, to be a part of our incentive program, you contract with us first, then you purchase the equipment. You can't purchase the equipment before you come under contract. So you purchase the new equipment, you're waiting for it, it eventually comes in. Okay, great, it's here. You then take your old equipment and you scrap it, you demolish it. So it cannot be used. We're taking it out of service. And at that point you say, okay, we're done. So along the way, we're also performing inspections to verify the information on your application. So we're checking your what's going to be your trade-in equipment. You're saying, let's just say your old tractor. You said it was a this and a that. Okay, we go out, we say, yep, there it is. And then you also told us, oh, okay, that you're going to buy the newer tractor, right? So once that newer tractor comes in, we go out, we check to make sure it's the right one, that it all matches. So then you get your reimbursement. So again, 75, 80%, depending on the category. And then, as I said, you'll be submitting status reports along the way of the 10 years. Those status reports are basically showing how many hours your equipment has been running per year. So I'm going to speed up a little bit here because I think I'm taking too long. So online application, the preparing for upcoming solicitation is basically the handout that you've received. As part of that, you're gathering 24 months of usage for your equipment. You're gathering information about proof of equipment ownership, the specific vehicle make and model, and also engine information. Very important. We'll need to see all that. Again, you're meeting with vendors to talk about new equipment that you want to buy. How long is it going to take? How much is it going to cost? You're going to get the quote for the new equipment. That's going to be part of your application. And then you're going to be ready to submit your application when we open sometime in the fall. We have what's called a listserv that you can sign up for, that if you're on this list, weeks or a month before we open up, we're going to send out an email. Hey, we're going to be opening on such and such a date. Make sure and get ready for the new solicitation to get your application in. If you want to go to our webpage, there's kind of a general grants and incentives page that has different equipment. You click on the type of equipment you have, and then you can see what programs you're eligible for, what information you need. This just shows the link to the page that basically the handout you have comes off of this page here. I had mentioned before about the online application. So this link is going to get you to create an account, username, password, and then also gaining access to the online portal to submit the application. I had mentioned before also, so the money that we get is from the state. So there's I sped up, so I think I'm doing good. So the money we get is from the state. So there's some links here about the Carl Moyer program and the farmer program, about just overall general guidelines of the programs, background information, that sort of thing. And then we're going to leave this up here. So kind of moving forward, there's an email on the top, which might actually be, it's cleanairgrants@sdapcd.org. That's a general email inbox that our group checks. So if you have questions after today, hey, I was looking on your website, this and that, I'd say probably the number one thing at this point to do is to maybe email that account. I did also list our main group there that works with the incentive projects. As you get under contract with us for your project, you'll have one specific person that most likely you'll be talking to most of the time. So they're all listed there. So I went through pretty fast. There was no questions yet, but let's have questions now. And Nikki's more of an expert on these programs than I am. So she's helping me out if there's any questions that I can't answer. Who wants money? Yes.
Question regarding that example with a tractor.
Yeah.
If you buy a new equipment, is there any incentive if you want to electrify your fleet and buy an electric tractor? Would that cover the 75% of the cost?
Yeah, definitely. If you can go electric, we prefer that. You'll, as far as that rank list goes, you go right up to the top.
Cool.
Yeah. Yes.
If you're not replacing old equipment.
I'm sorry?
If you're not replacing old equipment, if you're buying a piece of equipment for the first time.
Yeah, so our program, because of kind of what I was saying in the beginning, we're trying to take old equipment out of service.
Even if you're going fully electric.
Yeah.
Okay.
What processing equipment that's diesel, generated in that you're using for processing particular, let's say, feedstock of some form? Would that fall under eligibility?
So it's run with like diesel engines?
Yes.
So it'd be categorized as infrastructure maybe?
Oh, yeah,
So-
definitely.
So, and you'd be going to electric?
That would be the ideal, if we could.
So
I think
it's,
there's a potential for eligibility. It's something that you'd want to reach out to us, like what he was saying, our general email. Feel free to do that at any time. It doesn't need to be during a solicitation, but like, for example, we have a unit right now that I'm working on that's it's a trommel, a manure trommel.
Right.
And so that we just deemed is eligible for our program. So there is like wiggle room, but with some of the ones that we're less familiar with, it's just something you'd have to work with us to work with the state to see if it's eligible.